Hello, hello. I hope you can hear me. I had to check out how it works with live streaming. It's just the second time I stream, and the first time I stream when I announced it before, when I scheduled it. And yeah, I think I have a couple of problems here now. I hear myself. So what should I do now? Why is it I hear myself when I speak? It's not. I'm so. So can you guys hear me? The problem is I hear an echo and I don't have. How can I turn off this echo? I cannot start like this. Maybe I have two windows open. I have to close one. I have to check. Close Windows. Yeah, I think I figured out the problem now. I had two windows open. Now I don't hear any echo. So I think we are now ready to start. I am. As you see from the title, the topic is the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. It will start on the 20th of July, so in 6 days. And yeah, it will be a very exciting event. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think the women's game has improved a lot over the last years. I personally watched Women's World Cup since 2007. I watched also already the 2003 World Cup final between Germany and Sweden, when Germany won by a goal in extra time by Nia Künzer. But the first edition I really started to watch from the get-go. Everything basically was 2007 in China. Germany won that edition as well against Brazil in the final. And yeah, I've been keeping track of women's football since ever that World Cup. I watch basically all World Cups and all Euros, but I don't watch that much club women's football. If at all, maybe the Champions League final. I watched the Champions League final this year between Wolfsburg and Barcelona. Yeah, but I have decent grasp of the women's game, but I don't call myself an expert or pundit for the women's game. As you know, my channel is primarily about international football, or exclusively about international football, but primarily about the men's international football. But if a World Cup comes around, Women's World Cup, that is also a very important event, and we shouldn't neglect it. We should give also the women respect for and show them love for the game. And yeah, I think that is a nice introduction. We can now proceed to the predictions, to the groups. And let's go by group. I have my notes here. So I will also say a couple of sentences about each team when I can. When it comes to my mind, and I have many notes, but I can't obviously look up all notes. Let's just check my notes. 1 second, 2 seconds, please. It's a mess. It's a mess. Okay, I will try to speak from my mind, without looking much at my notes, because I think that also makes the stream quality-wise worse. But I have made so many notes. Okay. Okay, let's just start with the predictions. In Group A, we have hosts New Zealand, Norway, Philippines, and Switzerland. And yeah, my predictions, I will start always from bottom, and we will go our way up to the top. So from fourth to first. I have in fourth, coming in last, I have the Philippines. It's their debut at the World Cup. They are coached by Alan Stajcic, the former Matildas, former Australia women's national team coach. They are very inexperienced, but they have a squad that mostly consists of foreign-based players, even foreign-born players, with something to note. The bulk of the players, they aren't born. They weren't born in the Philippines. They were born in the US and some other countries in the world. Very interesting mix. It was kind of a surprise that they qualified for this World Cup. We will see how they will do. I personally think that they won't be whipping boys. I think they won't lose every game by multiple goals. I don't think so. But I played it safe. I put them in last place. I think they don't have any experience, and if they maybe grab a point or so against New Zealand, that would be also already okay for them, I think. Yeah, in third place, I have host New Zealand. Yeah, they have home advantage, but they aren't very good side, and I looked it up. In the last 12 games, they won only a single one against Vietnam, 2-0. On the other games, mostly losses, couple draws. They are an awful team, actually, and they will place only third because they are at home. And I don't expect them to advance to the next round. They have never won a single game at the Women's World Cup in their history. Something to note. If they win one game, if they beat the Philippines, I think we could say it's already kind of a success for them. And in second place, I have Switzerland, decent European team with some good players, especially in attack. Out of the top of my head, I know Ramona Bachmann. I think she plays for PSG in Paris. And they have also Anna Maria Tsinogorcevic. She plays for Barcelona, I believe. And these are, pretty good players. And, Switzerland, they are not really in form. Most of the recent games were draws. But I think once the World Cup comes around, they will get going. And this is also a very easy group, I have to say. So I expect them to come in second. They are also already kind of experienced. They played at the 2015 World Cup, I believe. Was it 2015 or 2019? I believe it was 2015. And their coach was Germany's current manager, Maria Voss-Tecklenburg, and under her, they reached the round of 16. I think we will do just the same exact thing again. Round of 16, they can do this. And they played also at the Euros last year, where they were competitive, but they exited in the group stage. For the first place, that leaves us with Norway. They have Ada Hegerberg, and she's a star striker for them. They have also a pretty talented group of players. Most of the players play for good clubs in Europe. And yeah, it's the best squad probably in this group. And they were also at the Euros last year. But they got trounced by England 8-0. Was a very weird game, and they exited in the group stage. But since then, they changed the manager, have a new manager, and I think maybe that is a reason to believe that they will be better. And it's a very lenient group, as I said, so I think they should come in first. At the very least, they should get out of this group. And yeah, that's for now all what I have to say about Norway. We will see how far they will go in my predictions. Let's continue with Group B. Group B has Australia, the co-hosts in it, Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Nigeria, and we have Canada. This is also a pretty tough group from top to bottom, very competitive. We could see each team. Ending up with points. I mean, it's. And I don't expect huge score lines or teams getting outclassed in this group. I don't see it. I mean, everything will be close to each other. So let's go to my predictions. I have in fourth Republic of Ireland. It's their debut at a major tournament ever. They haven't even featured at the Euros yet, and now they play directly the first tournament at the World Cup. And I looked up also. It's a pretty aging squad. I believe it's the second oldest squad of the tournament. It's over 28 years of average age. So they're on paper experienced, but they are not experienced at this level. And watched also a recent friendly of them against France. They put France under pressure or gave them a little bit of trouble in the first half, but eventually they lost 3-0 and they weren't that competitive. And I believe, they are a nasty side. They are tough to play against because they give it their all. I saw that against France, and they give it their all, but they lack the cutting edge. They lack the individual quality up front. So I have a tough time to see them getting goals or multiple goals, and that's why I put them last. Third place, I have Nigeria. Historically, Africa's best side in the women's game. They have also a pretty good squad. I mean, when you look up the squad, they have many players in decent European leagues and also in the USA, and they have the experience. They disappointed at the Women's AFCON. They finished only fourth. Despite that, I consider them probably the strongest African team we have at this World Cup. And they will be competitive. They They won't get blown out whatsoever. They have even an outside shot to get the top two finish. But I played it safe. I put them in third place. And second place, I have the hosts, Australia. I saw a couple of other prediction videos and so on. Most people have a lot of faith in Australia, I believe, because they are at home. Most people put them in the semis, some even in the final, and I'm a little bit perplexed. I don't think they are that good, personally. They have Sam Kerr, star striker, world-class striker. She will be very important, but the issue will be they will have to connect the midfield with her. They have to find a way to feed her properly, And I think while in the group stage we won't have much problems, they will get problems as we proceed to the knockout stage. And also a stat I saw, like a kind of a pattern or a common theme, hosts in the women's World Cup usually don't do that well. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but we saw a couple of hosts who underperformed actually. Most hosts didn't even make it to the semifinals. And, I think personally, home advantage in the women's game at the Women's World Cup is a little bit overrated. Maybe it has to do also with psychological things, because these teams, usually when they play their games, they don't play in front of large crowds. And then when the women's game, when the World Cup comes around, they play all of a sudden in front of 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people. and sometimes that's a handicap. If you're not prepared for that, it can be a handicap. It can hold you back. It's, as I said, I have Australia coming through, but in second. First place, I have Canada. They are the reigning Summer Olympic champions, so not a team to sleep on. And they are pretty solid. I think they are pretty solid outfit all around. They are more solid than Australia. Australia have Sam Kerr. I think as a team, Canada is more solid. They defend better, and interestingly, also the last two times when they played Australia in friendlies in Australia, they defeated Australia. So they showed already before that they can beat Australia, even on their turf. And I personally pick Canada to win this group. That's my prediction. So let's progress to the next group. Next group is Group C. We have Group C. We have Spain, Costa Rica, Zambia, and Japan. And this is a very interesting group. Let's start with the predictions. I have in fourth place Costa Rica. They are not debutants, actually. They played at the World Cup before. I believe it was in 2015. They qualified via the intercontinental playoffs? I believe so, yeah. Via the intercontinental play. Costa Rica, I think they qualified directly. But they don't have much experience, and I don't think they are that great of a side either. I personally don't know that much about them. I put them in fourth place. Now, third place, I put Japan. That might come as a surprise, as a shock maybe. But I personally believe that this Japan team is at the start of a generation. It's in a transition period. You look up the squad, most players, for them it's the first World Cup. And I watched also one game of Japan, and they didn't look to me as quality as they used to be. They have still good skills in possession-based team. We know Japan's style. It isn't any different in the women's game, but they are slow. They are very patient, and they are very slow. I see them struggling in the final third. Personally, I don't think they will score many goals. They will score goals to Costa Rica, of course, but I'm just not convinced by this Japan team. I think they are much weaker when they usually were. I think they are kind of in a decline. As I said, they are at the start of a generation, and I wanted to include also a couple of surprises, and this was one of the best shouts I saw personally. We get now to second place. I have Zambia in second place. I watched them a couple of days ago in a friendly against Germany, and they looked surprisingly good. They're a pretty decent team, and they have a lot of firepower up front. If you look up the squad, they have like 3 players who play in Spain or in very good leagues. They're an underrated team. I think they can surprise. They can beat Japan and qualify from this group. What works in their favor is that they have also experience at the highest level. They played at the 2020 Summer Olympics. They crashed out in the groups, but they scored many goals. They conceded much more, though. But they've got that experience under the belt. And one of the star strikers, Barbara Banda, she didn't even play at the Women's AFCON because she was kind of not eligible to play. She was not allowed to play. But she is clear to play for this World Cup. And so Zambia will be, that is an asset. She is an asset. So Zambia will be even stronger. At the AFCON, they finished with a bronze medal. And I think it will be the clash of styles between Zambia and Japan will be very interesting. Japan with more slow possession-based style, very patient, very good on the ball. But Zambia, they have deadly attack, and they can, if they get dangerous looks on the goal, they will score. They will punish you. So I've put them in second place. First place, I have Spain. They have a lot of issues. They had a lot of issues going on in the last couple of months, or even 8 months, because 15 of their players boycotted the national team under Jorge Vilda. Jorge Vilda is the coach. They wanted to cause for him to get sacked, but the Spanish FA didn't do that and decided to stick to him. And we saw that a couple of these players have come back to the national team and will feature at this World Cup. And Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas will be also around. She was injured, but she played a couple of minutes in the Champions League final, and she will be ready to play. And Spain is a sleeping giant in the women's game. They haven't reached a single semi-final at the Euros nor at the World Cup in the history, but they are a sleeping giant because they dominate the underage categories, the youth categories. They won a couple of youth World Cups, and it's just a matter of time before until they break through. They will break through at some point. We will see. Will it be at this World Cup, or will it take it? Maybe they will get a bit these issues they had in the squad, and they still miss like 7-8 important players. Maybe that will hold them back. But I think in the early stages of the tournament, they won't have any issues whatsoever because they have deep squad. And even with a second string team, I would expect them to top this group. Yes. So I have them in first. Let's go on to the next group, Group D. We have England, Haiti, Denmark, and China. I have in fourth place Haiti. They are debutants, and they have the youngest squad of this tournament. I believe it's like 22.3 years of average age. Youngest squad by far. And because of their strong cultural ties to France, most of the players play in France. Maybe a couple of them in lower tier divisions, but also a couple of them in the first tier. They've got also a couple of players in the USA. They qualified via the intercontinental playoffs. Can't remember. I think they beat Chile in the playoff final, and they will be happy to be here. And they are a very young side. They will cherish the experience, but I don't see them personally getting out of the group. I think they will be competitive. They are not a team that will get blown out, maybe by England, but not by the other teams. I expect them to grab at least a point, but I have them in fourth place. Let's go on. Third place, I have China. China are a traditional power in the women's game. They were already around and very strong in the 90s, and they used to make it also always into the quarterfinals. And sometimes I believe one time they finished even runners up. Maybe it was in 1999, not sure. They won the Asian Cup. They are reigning Asian champions. But I believe also that shows that the Asian teams at the moment are not at their best, especially Japan. Usually Japan wins the Asian Cup. In the history, China always, in 7 attempts when they played at the Women's World Cup, they made it out of the group each time. Yeah, I'm predicting here something to happen that is kind of against history. It's a toss-up between China and Denmark for second place. I'm just not so impressed by China. I think they are due for a group stage exit now, and they had also the pandemic. I know from out of the top of my head the pandemic has impacted Chinese football a lot. Chinese football got hurt, got hit hard by the pandemic. I know, especially the men's game, the men's teams, but why should it be any different with the women's game? You know, so don't have so high expectations for China. I have them in third. Second place, I have Denmark, a very decent European nation. They kind of underperformed at the world stage, but at the Euros, they had a couple of semi-final finishes, and in 2017 they were even runners-up. They lost to the Netherlands, host Netherlands back then. And I like their odds in this group to get out of the group and, you know, have finally make a splash at the World Cup. And Pemil Harder is the star striker, and she will get the goals for them. And I think also they're defensively pretty solid side, and they will have enough for my money to advance in second place. We played also at the Euros last year. They exited in the group stage, but they were actually chasing a quarterfinal spot until the dying minutes of the last match day. They were in a group with Germany, Spain, and Finland, and it was like 0-0 tied deep into stoppage time against Spain on the third match day. Had they scored the winner, they would have advanced at the expense of Spain. But they conceded in stoppage time and lost 1-0, and they exited in group stage. But I think they're a pretty competitive team, and in this group they can go through. First place, I have England. They are one of the favorites to win this tournament. They have a couple of absentees, a couple of injury, a couple of players missing because of injury. Captain Leah Williamson, Fran Kirby, I believe she's a winger, and someone else, Beth Mead, the top scorer of the Euros, actually. So these are quite a couple notable absentees, but they won't have any issues in the group stage for my money. They are strong enough. You know, in the women's game, nations like USA, England, Germany, Spain, they have so deep squads. They have so many players to choose from, and I think they will find a way to compensate these losses for now, you know, for the group stage, I would say. And I have them topping the group. So let's proceed to Group E. I think I should speed up things a little bit. I think we are now half an hour in or something like that. 28 minutes. Group E, we have USA, Vietnam, Netherlands, and Portugal. Fourth place, Vietnam. I don't need to say much about this team. I mean, it's an entirely domestic-based squad. A single player that plays in Portugal. They don't have any experience at all. They are debutants, and there's a pretty high chance that they will get blown out by the USA. I just pray that it won't be by double digits, but the risk is there. They could use to them by 10. They could use 10-0. It is this is the expansion. We have 32 teams, and they are probably one of the weakest. And then they face teams with good attacks like USA and Netherlands. It will be tough for them. It will be tough. Third place, I have Portugal. They are also debutants. They played at the Women's Euros last year, and they were competitive. They happened to be in the same group as the Netherlands at the same time as now, and they played the Netherlands close in a 3-2 loss last year. So they showed already that they can cause problems. but I played it safe. They could make it out of this group, but I have them in third. Most of the players play in Portugal. They have a couple in Spain, but still, Portuguese women's football is kind of lagging behind. They are not remotely as strong as in the men's game. Yeah. So in second place, I have the Netherlands, the runners up of the last edition, 2019, when they lost to the USA 2-0. The Netherlands will be deprived of the services of Viviane Miedema. She's the talismanic striker, world-class striker. But one must note that the Netherlands have been playing already without Miedema for like 6-7 months, so they are kind of accustomed to get along without her. And they will find the goals through midfield. I don't have much doubts. I think they will score goals. I saw a friendly of them against Germany. They lost 1-0, but they got the better of Germany. They were the better team on the pitch. They created numerous chances but couldn't score. I think they will be a decent team and they will get out of this group in second. First place, I have the USA. Still the team to beat. They won the last two editions. They are the record winners of the Women's World Cup. I believe 4 times, 5 times. I'm not sure, but they won it so often. And they will be favorites also for this time, for this edition. And as far as I know, not many injury worries. I knew of one player, a striker, actually, but most of the players will be there. Even Rapinoe will be there, but she will be mostly just as a player for the locker room, I think. And yeah, there's not much to say. They are favorites, and we will see how far they will go in my predictions. Let's go on to the next group. The next group is Group F. We have in this group France, Jamaica, Brazil, and Panama. I have in fourth place Panama. Not a strong team, and they qualified, I believe, via the Intercontinental playoffs. And they are debutants. And yeah, there's not much to say. I think they will place last. Third place, I have Jamaica. Jamaica, they are actually not debutants. They played at the 2019 World Cup, but they were in a very tough group back then with Australia, Brazil, and Italy. Turned out to be a group of death. And they lost all 3 games there. They will be, seeking to make it better this time. And I believe also that they are quite decent side. If you look up their squad, they have many players, multiple players playing in the US and in decent teams, in decent leagues. You can't afford to sleep on them. They are even within a shout to advance. But this group is very tough, because it has France and Brazil in it. And I played it safe. I have them in third place, but I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow find a way through, just because they have a decent squad. But they are not very well supported by the FA. There are also kind of issues. I read an article once where players had to pay for the travel costs by themselves, and it's just terrible, And yeah, I have him in third place. Second place, I was going back and forth in the last weeks between Brazil and France. I mean, 2 very strong teams. In the end, I went with France to finish second. France under Hervé Renard. We know him from the World Cup. He was Saudi Arabia's manager, and all of you guys who follow men's football closely, you know him. Very prominent manager, has worked out a couple of miracles in Africa, especially won the AFCON with Zambia and stuff like that. And he's a manager I rate highly, but he has been in charge since only 2 months. So not a lot of time to get accustomed to the women's game, to know the other teams and their players inside out, And my main issue with France is actually not his lack of experience in the women's game, but with injuries. They've got hit the hardest by injuries by all big teams. I have to say, just out of a couple, out of my head, they miss Delphine Cascarino. She's a winger. They miss Gretchen Bock-Bati. She's a center back. These are all key players. These are starters. They miss Amandine Orange, holding midfielder. They miss Antoine Marie Katoto. She's the star striker. And today, in a warm-up friendly against Australia, in the dying minutes, Selma Basha, a winger or left fullback, got hurt right at the end of the game, and it looked terrible. She will be missing the World Cup too. Don't have any information, but it looked bad. And these are 4 or 5 starters missing, and they will be still a strong side, but they will be at some point pay the price for these injuries. So yeah, but I have them coming through the group in second place. Something to note: they finished they were semi-finalists at the Euros last year, where they lost in a close encounter to Germany 2-1. A game that could have gone either way. I watched it. Yeah, they will be a good team. I will have to drink something, so let's make a break of 30 seconds, please. So I'm back. We are already 37 minutes in, shocking, and we are just in Group F. But in the knockout stage, I will speed up because I'm talking in depth now about the teams, and in the knockout stage, I won't have to do that anymore, So I think we will get the stream finished maybe in half an hour. Maybe even quicker, but it depends if you have questions. I haven't read through the comments at all because I'm concentrated on my stuff. I cannot read the comments. I'm sorry. After I finish my predictions, we can discuss, and I will read the comments. First place in Group F, a team I'm very high on, Brazil. I think under Pia Sundhage, they look much better than in the last years or editions. She has transformed them into a side who plays very modern style of football, high press, very direct, still Brazilian flair. And Marta is still around. Whether she will be a starter, I'm not sure, but she will be important as a leader from leadership perspective. And they have rejuvenated the squad a bit. They have an interesting mix of youth and experience. Just out of my head, I know Caroline. She's a midfielder, 23 years old, and many pundits expect her to be a breakout star. I watched her also. She's very good. And there's also Jace, 25 or 26 years old. She will be also kind of newcomer. And they have still guys like Marta Debinia. She will be definitely starting for them. She's the main striker, still world class and scores goals in the US. And I'm just very high on this team, and I think they play with a chip on their shoulder, because in 2019, after they lost to France after extra time to host France in 2019, Marta came out after the match and she gave a speech, kind of like a rant, where she said that like Brazilian players need to be more ambitious, need to work harder. We can't rely on Formiga. She counted couple players, Formiga, Marta, Cristiane anymore, because these players are aging and we need new heroes. We need new players, talented players. And I know I have a funny feeling about Brazil this World Cup, and I think that they are playing with a chip on the shoulder. They want to prove themselves. They have a couple underrated players. They have a couple very much known players, and I think it's a very tough group. They could easily finish second, but I will trust them to top this group. Maybe they will draw with France. I don't think they will necessarily beat France, but I think maybe they will outscore France when they play against Jamaica and Panama. Brazil will play very offensive style football. They will score goals. So the next group, Group G, we have in it Sweden, South Africa, Italy, and Argentina. So in my predictions, fourth place, I have South Africa. They are actually African champions. Yes, I was just looking at the comments, but okay. They are African champions, but I personally don't think that they are the best African team. I think Zambia and Nigeria are better than them, but they somehow won AFCON. Was not much to say. They played already at the 2019 World Cup, I believe. Was it 19 or 50? I'm not sure, but they exited in the group stage and they lost all 3 games. They played also at the Summer Olympics 2012 and 2016, and the best they've got was one draw in one edition. In the other edition, we lost also all 3 games. So they are not a new team. They were at the stage before, but so far they haven't broke through. You know, will it happen this time? Maybe. This group is not the toughest group, but I'm not expecting it. I believe also the bulk of the players, the bulk of the squad is domestic based, so not much quality, on paper at least. And we'll see. Third place, I have this was a close decision, but I have Argentina in third place. They played at the 2019 World Cup. They were actually pretty competitive. They had 2 draws against Japan and Scotland and lost very close to England. Half of the squad that they brought to this tournament was actually already around in 2019, so they have the experience. Well, my issue with this team is they have not enough players playing in Europe. They have like only 3 or 4 players playing in Spain. The rest of the players are South American based, and in women's football, playing in South America is not ideal, because the women's game isn't very sophisticated there, I would say. It's not nowhere close to Europe. In the men's game, the gap between Europe and South America is closer, but the women's game is a pretty large gap. I think they'll be a competitive team, and they are absolutely within a shout to get second, but I put them in third. Second place, I have Italy. They are also kind of a traditional, not powerhouse, but they've been around for a long time. I mean, they were already in the 90s and 2000s already at these tournaments, and they have a lot of experience. In 2019, at the last World Cup, they had a fairy tale run to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. It was very much unexpected. They were in a tough group, and they won the group, they topped it, and then they exited in the quarterfinals against Netherlands. And the Italian Serie A is a strong league, has become a strong league. It is the fifth strongest league according to the UEFA coefficient. And that's impressive, of course. Only Germany, Spain, England, and France have stronger leagues. The Italian Serie A is still not exactly up there with these leagues, but they're bridging the gap. And I think I watched also one game of this team. They are good in possession. And they are tough to break down. They are not very pacey or flashy going forward. They won't score many goals, but I see them good enough to keep Argentina and South Africa at bay. And maybe goal differential will play a role here. And if it does, because they won't lose big, they have the advantage, in my opinion. And as I said, as a top 5 nation in the women's game, the league, it would be a huge setback if they wouldn't advance from this group. They have to advance. And first place, I've got Sweden, one of the traditional powerhouses in the women's game. They are not necessarily favorites for this edition, but they are kind of dark horse or contender. They were semi-finalists at the Euros last year. They were dumped out by England 4-0 in the semi-finals, and they never looked very convincing in that tournament. And I'm asking myself whether this team is on a decline. Also, mixed bag of friendly results, mostly not very impressive. And it remains to be seen what they will do in this tournament. They should be still good enough to top the group. And that's for now all I have to say. And it's also a very aging squad. Yeah, it's, I believe, one of the 3 or 4 oldest squad at this tournament. So that doesn't bode well, in my opinion. And next group, next on, we have the last group, Group H. Group H has Germany in it, Morocco, Colombia, and South Korea. 4th place, I have Morocco. They were runners-up at the AFCON they hosted. They are debutants. They never played at the World Cup before. They have a kind of decent amount of players playing in Europe. But still, I think, as a national team, they don't have that experience of playing in major competitions under high pressure a lot. And, that's all I can say. I have them in 4th place. In 3rd place, I have Colombia. They were runners-up of the Women's Copa America. It will be very close fight between Colombia and South Korea. Colombia, actually, they played at the World Cup twice. 2015, they made it out of the group. In 2011, they exited in the group stage, and the last time they didn't qualify. So they have kind of experience in this competition. But as I said, South America, not the strongest confederation in the women's game. And it's a toss-up in the end. That's for now what I have to say. 2nd place, I've put South Korea. They are coached by an Englishman, Colin Bell. He won the Women's Champions League with FFC Frankfurt like 9 years ago. And I think he is a pretty good coach. And I think South Korea improved under him. They improved their defensive organization. They won't be so easy to score on, I believe. At the Asian Cup, they had a 1-0 win against Australia and a 1-1 draw against Japan. These results are showing that they are competitive. They won't get blown out. And they're a very experienced team. Actually, the oldest squad of this tournament with 28.9 years of average age. It could work against them. It could work for them. We'll see. I think this group this particular group is a good group for South Korea to get out of it. Yeah, and we'll see. I have them in second place. They were runners up at the Asian Cup. They lost to China 3-2 after they were 2-0 up. Yeah, so we'll see. I expect them to do okay. And first place, I have Germany. You know, I live in Germany and I've also a German kid, if you see it now. I'm not very high on Germany going into this Women's World Cup. They finished runners up at the Euros last year. They played very well there. They could have easily won also the final. It was on a edge, on a knife. It was very closely the final. They have also a couple of injury worries, couple of absentees like Julia Gwynn, Linda Dahlmann. Julia Gwynn is a defender, she's important. Linda Dahlmann is a midfielder. And also in a warm-up friendly against Zambia, Caroline Simon got hurt and she will also miss the tournament. She's a fullback. But the injuries are not my main issue with Germany. My main issue is the poor form they have been. They haven't had a single good performance in this calendar year. I watched basically all of the games this year, and even when they beat the Netherlands 1-0 on the road, they were second best on the pitch. They should have lost that game. And very worrying was the loss to Zambia the other day, 3-2 loss at home. And, you know, they don't look as good anymore. Maybe they are bluffing. Maybe they will turn it on when the World Cup comes around. There's always the chance, the risk with Germany. If they do, they will be one of the favorites. But for now, you know, not too high on this team. And we'll see. So let's now... I will look a little bit through the comments, and then maybe a couple minutes later we will do the knockout stage predictions. We'll look a little bit the comments. Okay, you guys gave your predictions. Someone has Switzerland topping the group and Norway going out in the group stage. Very interesting. Unimportant person. And yeah, these are all predictions. And the same guy had Japan in first, and Zambia in last. So very contrary to my prediction, actually. Most interesting matches: Argentina, Italy. I agree that it's interesting. United States, Netherlands, Brazil, France, Japan, Spain, Australia, Canada, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, Italy, England, Denmark. Very good list. These are all very close games to watch out for. And Haiti might be a good underdog against China and Denmark, but it's a risky prediction. I agree. I was for a long time between Haiti and Zambia to pick as my surprise team. 3-4 weeks ago, I was on Haiti, but you know, I changed my mind. Haiti squad is very young, very young. I mean, that's extremely young. I have difficulty to see them doing well with such a young squad, and also Zambia. We have such a deadly forward line, and they beat Germany. That convinced me. So coin toss between Netherlands and USA, both being finalists in the last World Cup, but I see the USA getting the upper hand again. It's fair. Yeah, there's a chance that the Netherlands top the group ahead of the USA. I'm not discarding that. There's a chance, but Miedema missing makes it tougher for the Netherlands, and USA are still the team to beat, you know. And okay, we will now proceed with the knockout stage predictions. My bracket. I will try to speed up things a little bit so it doesn't take much longer anymore. My round of 16 looks like this. I will just go through all my round of 16 fixtures and then I will give predictions. Norway against Zambia, USA against Italy, Spain against Switzerland, Sweden against the Netherlands, Canada against Denmark, Brazil against South Korea, England against Australia, Germany against France. That is my bracket for the knockout stage. Okay, let's start with Norway, Zambia. I have Norway going through in this game. Yeah, I picked Zambia to be a surprise, but I'm not going completely bold by picking them to go to the quarterfinals. They have also, Zambia, issues on dead balls, and set pieces. When they concede corners, free kicks, they could easily concede there. In the group stage, thankfully against Japan, I don't think that will be the case. Japan, always small size of players. And but against Norway will be tough, and Norway will find a way to outscore them. This has the potential to be a high-scoring game. Norway could get multiple goals. Zambia could get a couple, but I pick Norway to win. Then we've got USA, Italy. I've got, of course, the USA. I don't think it will be huge scoreline. It will be like 1 or at best 2-0 goal, 2-goal margin. Italy will be competitive, but USA will be too much for them. Then I've got Spain, Switzerland. Easy, Spain will win. We will outpossess Switzerland. Switzerland will chase the ball all the time, and they will get the goals somewhere. Out of somewhere, Spain will get the goals. Even with multiple players missing the tournament, they're still too good for Switzerland. Then we've got Sweden against the Netherlands. Very tasty 50-50 matchup. As I said, Sweden very aging, not convinced by this team. The Netherlands, they are also kind of in a transition period. They are not favorites or contenders to win this World Cup. They're not as strong as a couple of years ago, but they're still very decent. And what I saw in a couple of the friendlies of them makes me hopeful that they can play a role in this tournament. It's a 50-50 game, but I have the Netherlands going through. You need also sometimes runners-up finishers to go through. It's unlikely that all 8 group winners go through. It's just very unlikely. Usually there are always 1-2 upsets, and I could see this one being a slight upset. I mean, it depends what you think, but it's a 50-50 game. It's not even an upset. So, yeah, maybe maybe they will prove me wrong. Maybe. I'm not ruling it out. But for this game, I have the Netherlands. Next game, Canada against Denmark. This will be a nasty game. Won't be a nice one to watch. Why? Canada, while they are very, very solid outfit, they are not a flashy team. They are not a brilliant team whatsoever. They win games by tearing teams down, and they punch you on the break, and they are better when they play when they are outsiders, when they are not favored. When they can set up a low block and play on the counter, that's when they shine, and that's also why I pack them to top the group and surprise or beat Australia. But in this game, Denmark, they're also very defensively sound team. I could see this game going all the way to extra time penalties, all the way. I'm picking here another upset. I'm picking Denmark here. As I said, they had a couple of successes in the Euros, like runners-up finishes, runners-up finish, couple or multiple semi-final finishes. Maybe part of me thinks they're maybe due for a World Cup run. So I have Denmark beating Canada. slight surprise. And Canada also, they underperform in World Cups. They've made it to the semifinals once in 2003, I believe. But other than that, very disappointing actually. They are more the Summer Olympics type of team. Actually, they do very well there, but not at the World Cup. And this is also a close game. I have Denmark. So we proceed to Brazil, South Korea. I will have to drink something again. So, Brazil, South Korea. As I said, I'm high on Brazil. South Korea, they did already good to get to this stage. I have Brazil winning. Then we've got England against the co-host Australia. This will be an interesting one, but I think England will win. The hosts the tournament will finish, for my money, in the round of 16. I think Australia a little bit overrated. They're a very physical team. They are not that good technically, or they're not technically sound. They're very physical, and they have home advantage. But as I said, in the women's game, home advantage is overrated. So in England are one of the best teams in this tournament, so they will find a way past Australia. The last round of 16 matchup is Germany against France. We had this matchup in the semifinals at the Euros last year when Germany won 2-1. Back then, Germany was kind of firing on all cylinders and was a very good team. France, they have now Hervé Renard as the manager. And he's a manager, he's a very good man manager, and he has excellent motivational skills. He has very good psychological skills, and he will get his players pumped up for this game. Germany, as I said, they haven't been great. They haven't been good at all. I pick France for this game to beat Germany. I hope, of course, that Germany will get a way to find their rhythm in this tournament, and and then maybe they can go deep. But based on from what I saw, no good performances in this year. They were always second best in any games they played. And I don't have much faith in Germany. Well, for me, it's France. So we've got now the quarterfinals. Norway against USA, Spain against Netherlands, Denmark against Brazil, and England against France. As you see from my predictions, I have a couple unexpected teams here, like maybe only Denmark is unexpected, the other teams more or less. But what you see, I have many traditional powerhouses underperforming. I had Japan going out in the group stage. I had Germany going out in the round of 16. I had Sweden going out in the round of 16. And so on and so forth. I mean, I predict maybe this will age badly. I don't have any crystal ball or guarantee for this, but this is what I think. Norway, USA. I've got the USA as reigning champions. I think they will beat Norway. Norway, talented squad, but defensively they are not solid at all. They leak always goals, and if you leak goals against the USA, then you are against it. the odds are against you. So USA will beat Norway in the first quarterfinal. Second quarterfinal, I've got Spain against the Netherlands. I've got Spain to win this. I think they are due a run, finally a run at the World Cup. Haven't made it to the semifinals so far. Yes, they have issues with the squad, but they've some of the players who boycotted have come back, and Barcelona won 2 out of the last 3 Champions Leagues, and many of these players play also for the Spanish national team, and they will dominate the Netherlands in possession, and will find a way to put them away. Netherlands, they did already good to get to this stage. They are maybe not expected to go that far even. And yeah, the next quarterfinal I have Denmark against Brazil. This is where Denmark's run will come to an end. I've got Brazil in this game. There's not much to elaborate on. I think for me, Brazil, I'm very high on them. They will beat Denmark. So the last quarterfinals is England against France. I've got England in this matchup. Both teams have to deal with injuries and so on, but I think France, unlike England, they don't have a bench as deep. In England, they are probably the better side, the slightly better side anyway. It will be a very close one for sure, but I back England for this one. So the semifinals, my semifinals. Can you please, guys, comment, because since like 20 minutes, no comments are coming in. The stream is still going, right? The semifinals. USA against Spain, Brazil against England are my semifinals. 3 of these sides are seeded. USA are seeded, Spain are seeded, England are seeded, Brazil were unseeded. USA, Spain. If this would be a full-strength Spanish squad, there would be a decent chance that I would pick maybe Spain for this. But it isn't. It's risky to trust Spain too much. I've trusted them to go to the semifinals, which is already a big achievement for them, because they've never done that before. But for this match, I go with experience and I play it safe. I go with the USA to beat Spain. Yeah, that's my prediction. The other semifinals is Brazil against England. We had this matchup a couple of months ago at the Women's Finalissima at the Wembley Stadium. It was a 1-1 draw and England won on penalties. So we saw already that this is a very, very close matchup. On paper, England are, of course, favorites on paper as reigning Euros champions. But as I said, Brazil, for me, I think they will play with a chip on their shoulder. And I always say there are 3 or 4 important factors for a team. These are individual quality, cohesion, hunger, and the last one would be to have no injuries and so on, you know. Whereas if they don't have any injuries whatsoever, full strength squad, I know for a fact that they are very hungry. They want to prove themselves. I know that. I watched some of their warm-up games, and I think they play a very modern style of football. And the individual quality is there. They can beat England. They can beat England. And I'm picking also to beat them, to beat England. So this might be a surprise for you guys. But my final is USA against Brazil. it has also to do with the location. The World Cup is in Down Under in Australia. While UEFA nations or UEFA teams have improved, I have still a hard time to see them doing well when going all the way away to Australia. I think, England, for example, they won the Women's Euros at home. Yes, they are a strong team, they won it, but they won it at home. To go all the way now to Australia and prove it now in Australia, plus a couple of injured players, absentees, their job is much harder now. It's a much harder task. And as I said, I have a funny feeling with Brazil. I'm picking them, I'm backing them all the way to the final. Maybe this is not what many people expect. But I'm never predicting things according to script. There has to be always a couple of surprises. And I think this Brazilian team is much better than in the last 2-3 editions. It's the best Brazilian team since 2007 when they finished runners-up at the World Cup. For my money, the best team. Best cohesion, the best. They're hungry. Pia Sundhage has them drilled very well. Yeah. Okay. Bronze medal match. The two losers both happen to be UEFA teams. England against Spain. I've got England to beat Spain for bronze. I think England will not go home empty-handed. They will get at least a bronze medal. They will continue to rack up accolades. They won the Euros. They finished 4th at the last Women's World Cup, and they will again go very far. For Spain, this would be already a success. 4th place for them, because they never done it before. I think they would take it. With all the issues they have, 4th place finishes for them is okay. So the final, USA against Brazil. This is what I predict is not what I'm rooting for, right? I don't want the USA to win the World Cup. I don't want them to three-peat, but I'm actually predicting them to three-peat. This tournament is also, as I said, it's in Australia. USA will, as always, we will have lots of support on the stands. It's always like that. The US women's national team, they are always one of the best supported or the best supported team at the World Cup. You just look at the stands, how many fans they have. It's a very strong team. They are still the team to beat. And if they face Brazil, they would be favorites, of course, in the final against Brazil. And I'm not so bold to pick Brazil to go all the way to win it. It's a bridge too far for me. Also, in the FIFA World Rankings, USA are ranked 1st, Brazil are ranked 8th. And if you look up the past World Cups, they were always won by teams who were ranked from 1st to 4th, at least starting 2003, because in 1999 we didn't have any women's FIFA World Rankings. It started only in the 2000s. So on paper, according to patterns and so on, only the 4 highest ranked nations fit the pattern, so to speak. And these are at the moment, USA ranked is 1st, Germany is ranked 2nd, Sweden is ranked 3rd, England are ranked 4th. So here's my pick. USA to three-peat, to win it again. It's not what I'm rooting for. I hope that the UEFA team or Brazil or someone else wins it. But for predicting purposes, I stick with the USA. Also, injuries for some of the European teams played a role, in my opinion. And just the fact that this tournament is played down under in Australia, if it would be in Europe, my pick would be probably a bit different. But in Australia, I think it's for the US. It's, again, the time. I think as I said, European national teams in the women's game, they have become better, but they still haven't surpassed the USA. At least there's no clear evidence of it. And as long as I don't have a clear evidence for that, I won't pick against the USA. But it will be a very competitive World Cup, and many teams, several teams, have a shot at winning it. And it could be easily wrong. What I liked also was USA's path, because it isn't really the hardest path. Italy, Norway. I rule out that Norway or Italy would beat the USA. I rule it out. I can't see that. Then half strength or semi-strength Spanish side, and then Brazil in my final. In your final maybe it's different, but this would be also a pretty doable path for them. One point I want to point out about Brazil reaching the final: they made it in my bracket via a very lenient path. Also, you look in the group stage, they played Jamaica, Panama, and France, rather tough group. But then they played in my bracket South Korea, Denmark, first really hard opponent England in the semifinals, and then USA. I noticed a pattern in the last two Women's World Cups. One team gets to the final that has a rather easy path, and maybe it is this time Brazil. In 2019, it was the US, not the USA, it was the Netherlands. I haven't wrote it down, but I think they had a pretty easy path. I remember they beat in the quarterfinals Italy, and Italy weren't expected to go that far. They beat Sweden, and they beat someone in the round of 16. I can't remember anymore. But not a tough team. I believe Japan. I'm not sure. But even then, Japan weren't as strong back in that year as before. And in 2015, the final was played between the USA and Japan. And it was a Japan team that was already kind of past the prime. They had the prime in 2011. In 2015, we were already past the prime, but still made it to the final because they had an easy path. Can't remember the path exactly anymore. I know that they beat England in the semifinals. Maybe they beat Canada also. I'm not sure, but they had a rather easy path. You see the pattern. There's a pattern. One team might get to the final with a rather lenient path. So that's all what I intended to say. As you saw, my surprises are Zambia for the round of to go to the round of 16, and Denmark to go to the quarterfinals. And yeah, so let's just check the comments. Does Kim, who played for Chelsea, still play for the national team? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, honestly. I think when I saw the Korean squad, there was some player affiliated with a Premier League club, and I'm not sure if it was Kim and still Chelsea. My semifinals are still USA, Spain, and Australia, England. Fair enough. It's pretty similar to my semifinals. I mean, we only disagree on Australia. I disagree on Australia. You have Australia, I have Brazil. The rest is the same. And England haven't won a World Cup. They will also be very hungry. Yes, they will be. Yes. It's winter in Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, because it's the southern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere, there's winter now. I will personally watch many games. Maybe not all. Certainly not all, but most games. The schedule is a bit tough because most of the games will be early in the morning for me. Some at midday. We'll try to check out as many as possible. I would surely watch the entire knockout stage. Also, try most of the group stage to catch it. I hope you guys will also try to check out the tournament. It's definitely worth. I mean, women's football has improved a lot. It's a lot more pacey. It has become a lot more pacey. The technical skills are better than before, and it's watchable. It's watchable. The best teams in the world are definitely watchable. Maybe the teams who are outside of the top 15 in the world or so, they are not as watchable, but the top teams are definitely teams you can watch. So I'll check the comments. My surprises are Italy out and Australia overachieving to the semis. Yeah, it's the opposite to me. I have Italy going to the round of 16, and I have Australia exiting pretty early, round of 16. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not ruling it out for Australia to get to a semi-final. This is the very, very farthest I can see them go. The very, very farthest. They won't touch the final. They're just not technical enough, they're good enough. Semi-finals, if they have, if things go their way, then maybe they can do it. Not ruling it out, but they will need Sam Kerr to fire, to score the goals. They will need to feed her properly, and maybe they can do it. Not ruling it out. So if we are already 1 hour and 21 minutes in, if you don't have any questions or so, I would be like ending the stream in 5 minutes. Because also there will be probably a couple people who want to watch it afterwards, and we shouldn't make it too long just for the sake of it. I didn't expect this to take so long. I thought maybe half an hour to at most 1 hour, but I'm not very experienced with live streams, and I try to explain my picks or tell a thing or two about each team, so it has taken a bit too long. Australia, France would is probably my main upset matchup wise. Yeah, funnily enough, they played today in a friendly. Australia beat France 1-0 in a friendly. I think the scoreline was a bit flattering for Australia. Should have been a draw at best, maybe. We'll see at the World Cup how strong they are actually. If this matchup would be to happen again, Australia-France, I would back France to win it at the World Cup. They lost today in a friendly, but friendlies, it's a totally different story. And as I said, kind of lucky Australia to win it, in my opinion. And yeah. On paper, or the pundits say USA, England, and Germany are the favorites. The betting odds also list Spain as favorites. They have France kind of as contender. And the West, Australia also kind of rated like a contender because of home advantage. The West is very much way down. Brazil, who I'm picking, they are way, way further down the list. I think they're a little bit, underrated. I think they will surprise people. I hope they will do. I like this team. The delay at the start did add to the long stream. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but it was like 4 or 5 minutes, not that much at all. I hope for the next time I have figured it out now how I can directly, start the stream. Yeah. England Germany is less close than in my video. What do you mean? uh, if a England Germany matchup happens, I back England to win. Would be probably a close one, but I think it depends what type of Germany shows up. If we see a Germany that is firing on all cylinders, then I would back actually Germany. I think if Germany fires on all cylinders, they could win the tournament. But it's just based off my predictions on what I saw of them the last 6-7 months, and it was not much at all. I hope they prove me wrong, of course, but for predicting purposes, I have them in the round of 16. Would be for German. For Germany, would be the earliest exit at the Women's World Cup ever. We made it always at least to the quarters. Well, England Germany is less tight than I was talking about in my video. Yeah, no, I get your point. Yeah, at the time you made your video, Germany had not lost to Zambia. It was way before that. And actually, like 2 weeks ago, I had also Germany going pretty far. I thought maybe these bad performances in warm-up friendlies, they are not telling the true story, and the team will show up. But then again, against Zambia, they didn't show anything, and they didn't give me much belief or confidence. And if a team goes on a bounce of 6-7 bad performances or average performances into a tournament, that's a constant. That's you need to worry. Then I cannot turn a blind eye on that. I think Germany, they had the best time was last year at the Euros. They were a pretty good team back then. Since also right after the Euros, they were still strong. They played the USA, beat the USA all the way in the USA and stuff like that. But this year, they haven't shown anything. This year, they're average to poor. And yeah, they had like only one win this year against the Netherlands, 1-0. And even in that game I watched, they weren't good. They were second best on the pitch. So we'll see what type of Germany will show up. If the USA doesn't win, then England are in with a good shout. I have them in my semis, so they will be definitely up there. We'll see. If a European team wins it, my money would be on England. They would be the best bet, the safest bet. Spain, France, Germany, Sweden, none of these sides look particularly good going into the tournament. And, even England, they had a 0-0 draw against Portugal and lost to Australia 2-0. But I wouldn't read too much into that because the performances were still kind of good, but they just couldn't finish off. So no new comments are coming in, so I think it's now time to wrap up the stream. 1.5 hour, crazily long stream. Wasn't planned. It wasn't intended to be such long. Australia isn't going to be so hot unless maybe in the northeast and Perth, New Zealand might be cold. I'm not personally too familiar with the climate zones in Australia. I just know that it's in a southern hemisphere, and on paper it should be rather cold now there. But we'll see. Don't think that climate will play a big role in determining who wins the World Cup or who goes far. I mean, if it's cold, then it's cold for anybody. All teams have to adjust and have to deal with it. So I will thank you guys now for for having taken your time. 1.5 hours is a long time. It was a fun to go through all these predictions to preview the tournament, and I hope we will have a very exciting, interesting tournament with a deserved winner in the end. Just let's hope that it will be a deserved winner, not just like a fluke or But most of the times, teams that win tournaments are deserved or deserving winners. It's just the way it is. And yeah, I will now sign off. I will wish you now a nice day. The next time I will stream will be probably at the earliest in August, maybe even in September. I don't know. I will have to see what's next in my schedule. I have my top 100 ranking to do. I will present the most hopeful nations to debut at the 2026 World Cup, and so on. So there will be content in the next months, definitely World Cup related content. But for now, I think this is for at least this month. I don't plan any further streams or videos. The time zones suck since Australia and New Zealand are very far. Yeah, very far. Yeah, we'll find a way to check out the games. I mean, for me personally, it's not that big of an issue. I will try to um, get up early in the morning to watch most of these games. Yeah, so I will now finally say thank you for your attention, for having uh, followed this video all the way to the end. And I wish you a nice day and goodbye. Ciao.